Welcome to my YouTube channel. So today we are going to discuss the 2017 O-Level Science paper. Okay. So I'll move on to the first question. Which of the following plants is a gymnosperm? So we have to know about plant classification here, right? So when you take plants, plants can be mainly classified into two parts as flowering plants and non-flowering plants, right? So when you take non-flowering plants, right? Non-flowering plants can be mainly divided into two as seeded plants and not seeded plants, right? Then when you take flowering plants, it can be divided into monocot and dicots, right? So what are gymnosperms? Gymnosperms are the plants which are non-flowering but produce seeds, right? Those are the plants which are called as gymnosperms. And we have angiosperms. Angiosperms are called as the flowering plants, right? So another name for flowering plants is angiosperm, and another name for non-flowering seeded plants is called as gymnosperms, right? So when you take the first three, those are angiosperms, and when you take the fourth one, it is only gymnosperms out of the given answer. So fourth one is the answer. Okay. So when you move to second one it says, what is the unit of moment of force? So first of all, we have to know what is moment of force, right? So when you take moment of force, moment due to force is equal to force into perpendicular distance from the rotational axis to the line of force of action. So simply if I say moment of force is equal to force into distance, right? And that means, see here, force into distance, right? So force is measured by newtons, distance is measured by meters, right? And therefore, we can get the answer as N into M is Newton meter. So answer is the third one. So let's go to question number 3. The organ which mainly contributes to nitrogen excretion in the human is, right? Okay, so when you take nitrogen excretions, mainly our nitrogen excretions are urea, then uric acid, creatinine are the main nitrogenous excreted products, right? So those are mainly excreted by our kidneys, right? So kidney is the main organ which contributes to secrete these nitrogenous excreted products from the human body. Okay, right. Fourth one, which of the following substances can be mixed with water to make a heterogeneous mixture, right? So when you talk about mixtures, mixtures can be mainly divided into two: homogeneous mixtures and heterogeneous mixtures, right? In heterogeneous mixtures, what's the difference is the composition is not same throughout the mixture, but in homogeneous, it's same throughout the mixture. So when you take heterogeneous mixture, you take copper sulfate is readily soluble in water, right? Ethyl alcohol, same. Sugar is also same. But when you mix wheat flour with water, what will happen? There will be some clusters forming, right? Okay, so wheat flour with water will make a heterogeneous mixture. Okay, question number 5. Which of the following organelles releases energy by aerobic respiration? Okay, so when you take aerobic respiration, meaning is you take oxygen and then you take glucose. What you're going to do is out of glucose and oxygen, you're going to produce energy as in the form of ATP. Okay, so here in aerobic respiration, right, or cellular respiration always occurs in the organelle called as the mitochondrion, right, which is also called as the powerhouse of the cell, right? So energy is produced in aerobic respiration, so that's why it's called as powerhouse of the cell. So answer will be mitochondria. Okay, next one. Which of the following oxide is a basic oxide, right? Magnesium oxide is basic. Okay, so when you take these in magnesium oxide, aluminum oxide, sulfur dioxide, and silicon dioxide. When you take third period oxides, right? You can name oxides as sodium oxide, magnesium oxide, aluminum oxide. Likewise, there are so many oxides in the third period, right? So out of that oxides, if I draw a line, right, aluminum oxide is the only amphoteric oxide that is present out of the oxides given in this period, right? And also when you take the other parts, that means the other oxides which are found by the right hand side of this, right? So mostly on the right hand side of the periodic table, you have nonmetals, right? So non-metallic oxides are mostly acidic oxides, right? Non-metallic oxides are acidic oxides, while metallic oxides mainly form basic oxides. So from the answer, aluminum oxide is a amphoteric oxide, right? So all others that are right hand side to the aluminium will form acidic oxide and others will form basic oxide. So out of the given answers, the only metallic oxide except aluminum oxide is magnesium oxide. So answer will be MgO. Seventh one, the animal tissue given in the diagram is, okay, so when you observe this, right, when you observe this animal tissue, you can see these cells are arranged on a basement layer, right? Okay, this is the basement layer. So these cells are arranged on a basement layer, right? So normally in a tissue, if the cells are arranged on a basement layer, it's mainly an epithelial tissue. Okay. Eighth question. Which of the following energy transformations take place in the bicycle dynamo? Right. So what happens in bicycle dynamo? You ride the bicycle, the wheel rotates, and what happens? With the wheel, the axle will rotate, and the axle will cause the magnet inside the dynamo to rotate. And that will cause current to be generated through electromagnetic induction. Okay. So mainly there is a mechanical energy transferring it to electrical energy. So mechanical to electric answer should be third one. Next one, the biochemical reaction that take place in organisms are catalyzed by. Right. Normally, this is a direct question, right? So normally the biochemical reactions are catalyzed by enzymes in our body, right? So hormones are not biochemical reactions catalyzers. So when you take hormones, fatty acids, and water, they don't catalyze any biochemical reactions. But you take enzymes, enzymes catalyze biochemical reactions. So enzymes are mainly present in gastrointestinal tract, mainly small intestine. Okay, so answer should be second one. Okay, let's move on to question number 10. So here, in which of the following instances does a couple of forces act? So I'll remind you what a couple of forces is. Couple of force means it's a pair of forces acting in opposite directions, and also it should have a certain perpendicular distance between the lines of actions of them, right? So when you take a door opening by pushing, it cannot be taken as couple of forces. So first one is eliminated. When you take second one, when a nail is unscrewed by a screwdriver, that's correct, right? So when you're unscrewing, you're using two forces, right? If I take two fingers, you are applying the force in opposite direction, right? So second one will be the answer. If I talk about third one, when the rope is pulled in opposite direction by two groups in completion of pulling rope. So this is an example for normally equilibrium under collinear forces. If this rope is pulled equally to both the sides, that means equilibrium under collinear force. And also next one, when two persons are pushing a box in the same direction, which is kept on the floor. This is an instance of resultant force. Okay, so the correct answer is the second one. Question number 11. The number of electrons and number of protons in aluminium 3 plus ions are respectively. They are given the atomic number as 13. Okay, so when you write aluminium, aluminium's atomic number is 13, which means it has 13 protons and 13 electrons. Normally, if you take the neutral atom, proton number is equal to the atomic number, and also it is equal to the electron number. But if you take aluminium 3 plus ion here, the proton number will not change. Proton number will be same as earlier, that is 13. But aluminium 3 plus ion, how did this 3 plus form is, aluminium have released 3 electrons out and form the aluminium 3 plus ion. So previously it had 13 electrons with it, but now it has only 10 electrons. So aluminium 3 plus ion will have only 10 electrons. Why? Because there are 3 electrons liberated out. Right? If I write the equation, it will be like this: aluminium oxidized to aluminium 3 plus 3 electrons. So these 3 electrons are removed out. So here it has 13 electrons, now it has only 10 electrons, right? So they are asking number of electrons and number of protons. So electron number is 10 and proton number is 13. So answer should be First one. Next, question number 12. What is the standard notation of tritium? So tritium is a isotope of hydrogen. So there are three isotopes of hydrogen, right? One is called as protium, that is hydrogen 1, then the deuterium, hydrogen 1, 2, and then tritium, hydrogen 1, 3. So tritium notation will be the third answer, hydrogen 1, 3. So in isotopes, what happens? Neutrons number is changed while keeping the same number of proton. Okay, so in protium you have no neutrons, but if you take deuterium you have 1 neutron, and in tritium you have 2 neutrons. Just an example for you. Okay, question number 30. Which of the following adaptations shown by seeds of horror or in a plant for dispersal by wind? So when you take horror plant, so you can see it has leaf-like structures, right? Like this. So when you take horror, you can see they have wing-like structures like this. Okay. So the answer should be possessing wing-like structure. So for 13 answers, first answer. Let's move to question number 14. A certain covalent compound is completely ionized in water. Which of the following could be this compound? So if a compound is completely ionizing, it should be either a strong acid or a strong base. So when you take first one, NH4OH, it's a weak base. So you cannot take that one. Second answer, HCl, which is a strong acid. You can take that. So second one will be the answer. If you take third one, if you take copper sulfate, it cannot be completely ionized. Why? Because there will be sulfate ion remaining. Sulfate will not be ionized into sulfur and oxygen separately. So you cannot take that also. So when you take H2CO3, it's also a weak acid. Therefore, what happens is you cannot take that also, right? So weak acids and weak bases incompletely or partially ionized in water. Okay, so the answer for this part, should be HCl. Okay, the 15th question. The endocrine glands that secrete glucagon and calcitonin in human body are respectively, right? Okay, so glucagon, what's the function of glucagon? Glucagon mainly converts glycogen into glucose. And also when you take calcitonin mainly the function is to reduce the calcium level in blood. So when you take glucagon, it is secreted by islets of Langerhans. So that means it's produced in pancreas, while calcitonin, it is produced in thyroid gland. So answer should be first one. Okay, let's move to question number 16. Select the option in the table which gives the most suitable extraction method for each of the elements, potassium, calcium, and lead. So when you take these extraction methods, you can take extraction methods depending on the activity series. Right? So when you take activity series, it will be starting from potassium, then sodium, calcium, magnesium, aluminium, zinc, iron, tin, lead, likewise. Lead, hydrogen, copper, mercury, silver, platinum, gold. So when you take these, the elements which are present on upper side of this activity series are mainly taken by the process electrolysis because they have high reactivity. So they form chlorides, so they form bromides likewise. So those cannot be extracted in normal ways. So that should be extracted in a process called as electrolysis, right? So when you take the middle ones that are above hydrogen, so these are mainly reduced by reduction methods. And then the ones which are below hydrogen can be separated using physical methods. So according to this, let's find the answer. Potassium, it should be electrolysis. That's correct. Calcium, it's all should be electrolysis. So potassium electrolysis, calcium electrolysis. Lead should be by reduction. So answer should be fourth one. Okay, let's move on to 17th question. On a horizontal ground, the point B is located at the east of A and point C is located to the north of B. An ant has moved from A to C through the straight line paths AB and BC. If AB is equal to 3 meters and BC equal to 4 meters, what is the displacement of the ant in this motion? Right. Okay, so let's draw this. Okay, so if you have a question like this, just draw it and then you can find the answer easily, right? So that says B is located to the east of A and C is located to the north of B. It's like this, right? So they are given AB, it's 3 meters, B to C, it's 4 meters. So they are asking the displacement. So displacement will be from A to C. The distance from A to C will be the displacement. So how to find this? Apply Pythagoras relationships. So you get hypotenuse square is equal to 3 square plus 4 square. That means the squares of other sides of the right angle triangle. So here you get 25. AC squared is equal to 25. Apply square root both sides. AC will be equal to 5 meters. Answer will be 5 meters. Okay, let's move to question number 18. A situation where an image of a flower plot taken onto a white vertical plane using an item called X is shown in the figure. Which of the following could be X? Right. So here you can see the same flower pot is upside down, right? So if you can remember regarding convex lenses, right, there's an instance where when you keep the object in 2F position, right, the image will form exactly at the 2F of the other side, and also it will be same size as that of the object. So this happens only in convex lenses. So X should be convex lens. So answer will be fourth one. Okay, let's move to 19th question. Which of the following statement is true regarding waves? First one, transverse waves propagate with compressions and rarefaction. That's wrong, right? Longitudinal waves propagate with compressions and rarefaction. So you can say transverse waves propagate with crest and troughs. Okay, so first one is wrong. Second one, the distance between crest and trough of a transverse wave is equal to the wavelength of that wave. That's wrong, right? Why? When you take a wave, right? You take a transverse wave, crest are these upper points and troughs are these lower points. So when you take these two consecutive points, this will be half of the wavelength, right? So if you want the full wavelength, it should be two consecutive crest or two consecutive troughs. This will be the wavelength. We call it as the lambda. Okay, the second one is also wrong. Third one, it is not necessary to have a medium for the propagation of mechanical waves. That's wrong, right? Mechanical waves always need a medium to propagate. So it's not part is wrong. So third one is wrong. Let's read the fourth one also. Energy is transmitted by mechanical waves without the transmission of substance. That's correct, right? Right? Because in every wave, there is a kind of energy transformation, but the particles are not transmitting from one place to another, right? But particles can be vibrated in the same place, right? When you take transverse waves, particles are vibrating perpendicular to the wave direction, while in longitudinal waves, particles are vibrating parallel to the wave direction. So R should be fourth one. Let's move on to 20th question. The salt which precipitate in the first tank and third tank in the production of process of salt from seawater respectively. Okay, so when you take production of salt, right, we are taking seawater onto a large tank and then onto second tank and then third tank, right? So in each of the tanks, right, there will be one compound precipitating. So if you take the first tank, the compound which is precipitating in the first tank is called as calcium carbonate, and the second tank it's calcium sulfate, and in the third tank it's sodium chloride. So they're asking first and third tank, so answer should be calcium carbonate and sodium chloride. Answer is the first one, right? So here calcium carbonate is also called as limestone. Calcium sulfate is called as gypsum, which is used to set the time of setting the concrete or setting cement. And then third one, sodium chloride is also called as common salt. Okay, the salt that we are eating. Let's move to question number 21. Select the most efficient food chain among the food chains given below. So for a food chain to be more efficient, it should have less number of trophic levels. So the least number of trophic level is in the first answer. So the answer is first one. So if the food chain is much more longer, what is happening? From one trophic level to another trophic level, only 10% of energy is transmitted, right? So 90% of the energy is dissipated, right? So if it has a low number of trophic levels, it will be more efficient. Let's move to question number 22. The composition of glucose solution in terms of mass and volume is 90 gram per decimeter cube. What is the concentration of that glucose solution? Okay, so they are given the relative molecular mass of glucose is 180, right? So here you can find in 1 decimeter cube, there are 90 grams of glucose. So what you're going to do is you have to find the number of moles present in this 90 grams. So what you should do is you have to divide it by the molar mass, right? So molar mass can be taken from the relative molecular mass, that is 180. So divide it 90 grams divided by 180 gram per mole. Gram cancels, you get 0.5 moles. So 1 decimeter cube have 0.5 moles. That means the concentration will be 0.5 moles per decimeter cube. So answer will be the second one, right? 23rd one, which of the following is not a function of nucleic acid? Not a function, right? First one, storing genetic information of organism, that's a function. Then number 2, contributing to protein synthesis, that's also correct. DNA mainly part of the nucleic acid forms RNA, and that RNA goes into ribosomes, and then they produce proteins. And third one, controlling activities of the cell, that's also correct. If you take nucleus of the cell, controlling activities are done by the nucleus. So inside the nucleus, you have nucleic acids. Fourth one, maintain body temperature, that's wrong, right? Maintain body temperature is mainly done by hypothalamus. It's an organ, okay? So not a function, that should be fourth one. 24. The final products of the reaction hematite Fe2O3 with carbon monoxide gas in the temperature range 1000 degrees Celsius to 1900 degrees Celsius are. So mainly this is regarding extraction of iron, right? So extraction of iron happens in blast furnace, okay? So if you can remember the equation, Fe2O3 reacts with carbon monoxide, it forms iron and carbon dioxide, right? So the answer will be the first one, Fe and carbon dioxide. Here, Fe2O3 is reduced to Fe, and carbon monoxide is oxidized to carbon dioxide. So this is the redox reaction, oxidation reduction reaction. Question number 25. Which of the following end products of digestion is not absorbed by the blood capillaries of the villi in small intestine in human? Okay, so when you take villi, they absorb mainly water soluble things, right? For example, amino acids are absorbed. It's correct. Galactose, fructose, that means the monosaccharides, disaccharides are also absorbed into blood capillaries of the villi, right? But if you take glycerol, fatty acids, and fat soluble vitamins, those we are mainly absorbed into lacteal, right? Lacteal, which is connected to lymphatic system. Okay, so they are not directly absorbed into blood capillaries, they are absorbed into lacteal system, which is the part of lymphatic system, and then they are transported into blood circulatory system, right? So answer should be answer number 2, glycerol. Right, let's move on to question number 26. Which of the following is a function of human cerebellum? Right, so when you take human cerebellum, there are certain functions. Those functions are mainly, we can take maintenance of body balance is done by cerebellum, and also it involves in maintenance of body movement, and also it controls voluntary muscle activity. So those are the main 3 functions of cerebellum, right? So out of these answers, we can take perception of visual stimuli is done by cerebrum, so that's wrong, right? Perform higher mental activities, that's also done by cerebrum. Control of respiration, that's done by medulla oblongata. So the answer should be first one. Question number 27. A situation where a swan of mass 1.3 kilogram is at still water in a pond is given in the figure. What is the upthrust acting on the swan by water? Right. So when you take this swan, its mass is 1.3. That means its weight can be calculated by multiplying 1.3 into 10. That will be 13 newtons, right? So if the swan is floating, what should be there? There should be an upthrust force acting on the swan, which is equal to the weight, right? So that's why the swan is in equilibrium, or swan is floating in the water, right? So there should be 30 Newton force. What happens if the upthrust is increased? The swan will fly away up in the sky, or else If this one's weight is much more than the upthrust, this one will be sunken in the water, right? So this should be balanced. So the answer should be 30 Newton. Question number 28. Consider the following chemical reactions. Zinc sulfate plus X forms XSO4 plus zinc. So here also you need the activity series, right? So in the activity series, the metals which are above hydrogen can react with any acid to remove hydrogen gas, right? But in here, ZnSO4, that means there's a salt, right? So in this salt, zinc, what has happened? The zinc has been removed out, right? So this can only be done by a metal which is above zinc in the activity series, right? So you have potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium, and aluminium. So copper cannot be taken. You can eliminate that answer. Also, you can eliminate iron. And then you are remain with two answers. One is aluminium and other one is magnesium, right? So out of these two, what is the compound? What is the element which best suits this X? Can be chosen easily. How? If it forms XSO4, that means if we take valencies of these two separately, sulfate should have two valency number 2, so X should also be having valence number 2. That's why it has formed X1 SO4 times 1, right? That means XSO4. The ratio 1 is to 1. So X should have the valency 2. So out of aluminium and magnesium, magnesium has valency 2 because it's in group 2. So answer will be 3, the magnesium. What happens if the answer is aluminium? It will form aluminium and sulfate. Aluminium valency 3, sulfate valency 2. Exchange the valencies, you get Al2SO4 times 3. That means it should form a compound like X2SO4 times 3, right? So here they have not given like that. It's XSO4, that means valency 2. Valence 2 answer is magnesium. Then question number 29. A saturated solution of sugar was prepared at 80 degrees Celsius temperature by dissolving a solid sample of sugar which has been made impure by small amount of table salts. Which of the following measures can be taken to get pure crystals? So here they have told saturated solution at 80 degrees Celsius temperature. So normal to room temperature is about 25-30 degrees, right? So they have heated it until 80 degrees and they have made the solution saturated. Okay, so here we can take the method called as recrystallization, right? So what happens in recrystallization? We are taking this compound and what we are going to do is you are going to cool down the solution, cool down the temperature of the solution. What will happen? At 80 degrees also, the solution is saturated. So at 7 degrees, at 60, at 50, or the temperatures below 80 degrees, always it will be saturated. And the particles which cannot be dissolved in the solution at that temperature, those will be precipitated at the bottom, right? So answer should be here, cooling the solution. Question number 30. Question number 30. Consider the instances ABC given below. A bat flying at night emitting ultrasound waves at 21,000 hertz, then a dolphin praying in the ocean emitting ultrasound waves of 21,000 hertz, a rabbit walking in the jungle emitting ultrasound waves of 21,000 hertz. Then they're asking if the speed of sound emitted at the above instances are VA, VB, VC respectively, which are the following relationships are correct? Okay, so you have to know one thing, that is the speed of sound in the three mediums, right? Normally, the speed of sound in solids is the highest, then speed of sound in liquids, and then the least one is the speed of sound in air. Okay, so when you take these three instances, A, it's always in air, right? Bat is in flying, right? So it should be emitting its sound in air. When you take rabbit also emitting its sound in air, right? When you take a dolphin is emitting sound in water, right? So dolphin should have the highest velocity. So VB should have the higher velocity, but VA and VC, those two should have equal velocity because they are emitted to the air, right? Rabbit is not emitting its sound into underground, right? So the answer should be third one. VA is equal to VC, not lesser than VB. 31st question. and iron N, which was in contact with metal M, was kept in an agar medium, which consists of small amounts of sodium chloride, potassium ferricyanide, and phenolphthalein. After 1 hour, the only pink color was seen in the agar medium around the nail. M could be, right? So here also you need the activity series, right? So normally, if you are using an agar medium with sodium chloride, purpose of adding sodium chloride is it acts as an electrolyte. It helps in passing of electrons here and there, and also potassium ferricyanide, it's used to identify Fe2 plus ions. And also when you take phenolphthalein, it is used to identify OH minus, so hydroxyl ions. Okay. So in the presence of OH minus ion, phenolphthalein will give pink color. In the presence of Fe2 plus, potassium ferricyanide will give you blue color. So here it's only a pink color was seen. That means iron has not been oxidized, right? So you can take the activity series and then you can see if the iron is not oxidized, that means iron should be in contact with a higher reactive metal than iron. That means it should be contact with potassium or sodium or calcium or magnesium or aluminium or zinc. So out of the given answers, the one which is above the iron is only aluminium. So the answer should be aluminium. So here the aluminium will act as the anode and iron will act as the cathode. So it will be protected from rusting. So let's move to question number 32. Consider the following features. Nucleus is present peripherally on the cytoplasm, having spherical cells with large central vacuole and no intercellular spaces, right? So if the nucleus is present peripherally in the cytoplasm, that means there should be a vacuole, okay? That means it says that it should be a plant cell, right? Then second one, having spherical cells with large central vacuole, okay, it's a normal plant cell and spherical. And then there are no intercellular spaces. So if there is no intercellular spaces, it should be like sclerenchyma or scleretes, right? So they're asking parenchyma tissue features. So there should be A and B. Mainly parenchyma have intercellular spaces and they are spherical cells normally. So one should be first one. 33. On a table, a box is in equilibrium under three coplanar forces of 10, 15, and P newtons. The resultant of the two forces, 10 Newton and 50 Newton, is 12 Newtons. So they are given resultant of 10 and 15 is 12. So they are given three statements. X magnitude of P is 12 Newtons. So if these are in equilibrium, right? Let's say for an example, if it is 10 Newtons, if it is 15 Newtons, to be in equilibrium, the resultant of these 10 and 15 should be in the third force, and that is 12 Newtons. They have already given it. So magnitude of P should be 12 Newton. That's correct. P acts in the direction of resultant force. That's wrong. It's not acting in the direction. It's opposite to the direction of the resultant of these 10 and 15. Right? Opposite. So this is wrong. Z1, the line of action of P goes through intersecting points of the line of action of two force. That's correct. 10 Newton, 15 Newton, 12 Newton. All the three lines of actions meet at one point. That's a characteristic of equilibrium under three coplanar non-parallel forces. So Z is correct. So answer should be only X and Z are true. Third one is the answer. Let's move to question number 34. An organism has the following features consisting of eukaryotic cells. Okay, then part B has the ability to decompose organic matter. It should be definitely a bacteria or a fungi. Then C, presence of chitin in the cell wall. Right. More normally, chitin is present in fungi, right? So they are asking to which kingdom does the above organism belong? That should be definitely fungi because bacteria have peptidoglycan in their cell wall. Only fungi has chitin in their cell wall, right? But also when you take arthropods also, the exoskeleton is made up of chitin, right? Keep it in mind. Okay, let's go to question number 35. The sound wave obtained by tapping a drum softly was observed in the cathode ray oscilloscope as in the figure A. Which of the following could be the waveform that is obtained when the drum is tapped with a larger force than the above instrument? So what is happening? When we are tapping with a larger force, there will be greater loudness, right? So the factor that is affecting loudness in the wave is amplitude, right? When the amplitude increase, loudness increase, right? So you have to choose one with a greater amplitude, but it should have same frequency and same wavelength, right? So from the given four answers, first one can be taken because it has a greater amplitude than the amplitude which is present here, right? You can take fourth one also, but in fourth one, the wavelength has been increased, right? Here the wavelength is short, here the wavelength is very high, right? So it cannot be taken specifically, right? That means the answers are not clear. So they have given all to this, all correct. But when you are considering something like this, you should consider greater sound means greater amplitude, greater loudness. Okay. If someone says that it has a greater frequency, then it should have lesser wavelength. That means it should go like this, something like this, greater frequency. But they can also ask something like the drum plays the same note and the piano saves the same note, but it has different sound. What's the reason? Or what is which graph shows the reason for that? So that means both should have same frequency, same wavelengths, but the wave pattern should be different, right? When you play same note in violin and piano, you can separately identify it as violin and piano separately, right? So that can be identified using the shape of the wave. Let's move to question number 36. A child of mass 40 kilogram walked along a staircase from the first floor to the third floor of a building, which is 9 meters high from the first floor. Time taken by the child for this entire motion is 2 minutes. What is his rate of doing work? Take the acceleration due to gravity as 10 ms minus 2. Okay, so when you take this, right, 40 kilogram, what is his weight? Weight can be found by multiplied by 10. So weight of this child will be 400 newtons. So he's carrying his weight from first floor to the third floor, right? So work done of the child will be 400 newtons into 9 meters. So that will be 36 and 2 zeros Newton meter. You can also write it as 3600 joules. And the time taken for the entire motion is 2 minutes. That means power can be written as work done divided by time. Okay, so work done is 3600 joules. Time will be 2 minutes. That means that will be 120 seconds. So when you divide these, 0 cancels. 360 divided by 12, answer will be 30 or 30 joule per second. Let's move to question number 37. Test tube with the glass tube given in the figure is immersed in a vessel with water and heated for a small period of time. So there are three statements made regarding the observations. One is the water level in the glass tube rises up gradually from B and stops. Then Y is water level in the glass tube drops down gradually from B and then stops. Then Z is water level in the glass tube drops from B and then rises up and exceed the level of B. Right. So when you are talking regarding the liquid expansion, what happens here is when you supply heat, right? All of this glass tube and this test tube expands first, right? Because the solid gets the heat first. The solid expansion occurs first. As a result, what will happen? The water level will be dropping down the level B. But after some time, liquid expansion, after some time, the liquid will also gain the heat and it will expand more than solids. Right? So liquid expansion is higher than solids. So what will happen? It will drop down and then it will increase and it will pass the point B. So R should be Z. Z is true. Only Z is true. Question number 38. The information related to the motion of an object in a straight line is given below. Which of the following statement is correct according to the above information? First answer, the object has moved at a uniform velocity during the total period of time. So you can see if it has moved in a uniform velocity, this should be like 4, 8, 12, 16, 20 likewise, but it has not moved like that, okay? The gap is different. The displacement is different from time to time. So for the total period of time, it's wrong. But for the first 2 seconds, it's correct, right? So first one is wrong. The mean velocity of the object is 3 ms minus 1 during the entire motion. How to find the mean velocity? total displacement divided by the total time. So total displacement is 18 meters divided by the total time taken, that is 6 seconds. So that will be 18 divided by 6, answer will be 3 ms minus 1. So that's correct. Let's see third one also. The object has come again to starting position. That's wrong. If the object has come again to starting position, the displacement at the final should be 0 again. Okay, 18 and then it should be 0. So it's also wrong. Fourth one, the total distance traveled by the object is 70 meters. No, wrong. It should be 18 meters. So total displacement is 18 meters. Okay. So the correct answer is second one. Question number 39. A straight conductor AB which carries current I is kept in a magnetic field. The direction of the magnetic field is perpendicular to the direction of flow of current. Consider changes done separately in situation X and Y. Situation X, they have given that increasing current up to 2y without changing the magnetic field. And in situation Y, they have given strength, decreasing the strength of the magnetic field while keeping the current through AB as I. Okay, so they are asking correct statement regarding the magnetic force at a given to. First one, magnetic force increases only in situation X. That's correct, right? When the current supplied is increased, the magnetic force will be increasing. So X is correct. First one is correct. When you take second one, increases only in situation Y, wrong. When strength of magnetic field is decreased, the magnetic force will also be decreasing. Second one is wrong. Third one, when magnetic force increasing both situation X and Y, that's wrong. And decreases in both situations, that's also wrong. Right? When current is increasing, magnetic force will increase. When the strength of the magnet increases, it will increase magnetic force, and also the length of the conductor, if it is increasing, it will increase the magnetic force also. So first one will be the answer. So we will be moving on to the 40th question, that is the last question. Okay, consider the following activities: minimization of food mile, energy management, then use of traditional knowledge and technology. So they're asking the important activities for a sustainable development of Sri Lanka is. So for this, minimization of food mile will decrease the energy or decrease the fuels that are going to deliver the food, right? So that will be helpful for a sustainable development, and also energy management, that's also needed, right? And also traditional knowledge and technology, it's also needed, right? So in ancient times, kings made so many tanks to conserve water using their traditional knowledge. So likewise, those are also needed for a sustainable development of Sri Lanka. So answer should be ABC, all correct. So answer should be fourth one. Okay, so that's all for the MCQ discussion. If you have any questions, you can just comment below. I will send you answers. Thank you and God bless.